Hi, it's Dot, and in my low-carb kitchen, I'm cooking something tasty, tender, and delicious. It's short ribs, and they are oh so filling. So before I put my beef in the crock pot, I want to make sure that all sides are seared nice because that'll seal in the flavor when they're cooking slowly in my crock pot. Now, normally when I do that, when I sear meat, I usually try to match the meat with the actual type of healthy fat I want in the frying pan. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, other times it really does. So normally with this type of beef, I would just go ahead and use beef tallow. But this time, the company I get this from, Fatworks, they have obviously these types of sizes, but they are now doing sample sizes, which I absolutely love. These are about an ounce, so you can test different types of healthy fat. And this one is buffalo tallow. It's about an ounce of it. Costs you about $3.50, but they have so many different types of healthy fats you can sample and try and play with, experiment, see what goes well with what. So it's just a little tip, something you might think about. So I've already got the buffalo in here, the tallow in here, not a buffalo. That'd be a little bit too much. So what I'm doing is I'm reheating this up. I didn't want to leave it on the heat too long. And then once the oil gets really hot, nice and hot, I'm going to go ahead and start adding in the meat. I want to make sure I don't overcrowd the pan. I'm just going to add a few pieces at a time. All right, I'm going to start adding the meat. And what I have here with my short ribs is I have bone in and also with boneless. So I have two types that I'm working with. I normally prefer solely bone in just because of the added flavor that the bone gives you. Grocery store didn't have that much, so that's okay. You work with what you got. So I'm just adding in a few in here. You want that sizzle. You're going to be searing the meat for about 6 minutes or so, 6 to 8 minutes, and you're going to rotate the meat as you go. You want a nice crust to form on the bottom before you start moving around. So the key is leave it on for at least a minute. No peeking. You want it like a medium-high heat that it's on because you want that sizzle. So when we come back, you'll see what it looks like when I start flipping them. All right, it's searing. So you just want to go and flip it. Just gently flip it. But see, you got the nice brownish color that's happening on the bottom. That's what you want. You're just sealing in the flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of them. All right, the beef, it is all seared and ready to go. First, I'm going to let you know what I'm putting in the sauce that's going to surround the beef as it cooks. First off, I'm using a whole head of roasted garlic, and I have a video below on how to roast the garlic, so you can learn how to do it from there if you haven't seen that yet. I'm also using tomato sauce, apple cider vinegar. I'm using unfiltered apple cider vinegar, about 2 tablespoons of chopped up onions, and then to help bring out the flavor of my sauce, I'm using Worcestershire sauce. I said that right, yay! I'm also using liquid smoke, and then I'm using 2 other ingredients, and one of them is coconut amino, because coconut amino is a great soy replacement. If you're low carb, you tend to stay away from soy. This particular one from Coconut Secret is a really good alternative. However, warning, it does have a carb per teaspoon. So that's really important to understand. So I'm not using as much of it as I normally would have, but since I read the labels and I know it's got carbs, I cut that with some fish sauce. And with fish sauce, hope I pronounced that right instead of slurring it a little bit, but you have to make sure when you're at the grocery store, you read the ingredient label. A lot of fish sauces out there have fructose corn syrup. They have a lot of sweeteners added to it. And that's mostly because if you're not using authentic fish, because fish sauce is basically fermented fish, that's what it comes from. And the nice thing about it, it's the whole fish that you're getting all the nutrients from. It's not just, this piece or that piece, or sort of like little, fins or something like that. It's everything. So the one that I like is Red Boat. They tend to have the best ones. It's just pure fermented fish, and there's no carbs in it. It has a good amount of protein, and it's a tablespoon, no carbs. So I'm just basically cutting my soy substitute with some fish sauce. A little warning, this is a bit salty tasting. There's no doubt about that. Well, a lot salty tasting. So if you have some sensitivities to that, you may not want to use as much as I have in a recipe below. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get my garlic ready. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and squeeze it out of the papers so it all comes out. I always do it in a separate bowl. And I know some of you who've watched my videos know I say this over and over again. I do that because I don't want to get any of the papers from the garlic in with the food. it just won't taste good. And I think I did it pretty cleanly there. So I'm gonna put that right there. And then all I'm gonna do is take a fork and just mash it up a little bit. Okay, I've already started mixing all my wet ingredients together. I tend to do that before it all goes in the crock pot, just because I don't like mixing everything all together once I have everything in there. Just once I layer the meat, I want it to stay there. So like I said, I'm just adding all of my liquids together. If you look at the ribs, you can see they're single stacked. They are pretty packed in here, although I've got a few more pieces to go in there. Thanks to my husband who loves this stuff, so he bought way more than I need, but that's all right. I'm gonna go ahead and add my sauce. I mix it. I'm just gonna cover the meat. Now some people do add sweetener when they're using a marinara sauce. I tend not to because, again, my taste buds right now, since I went low carb, tend away from the sweetness. So if you wanted to add a little bit of sweetener to this, you certainly could. I would say no more than a tablespoon. I don't think you really need to go that sweet. Everything is covered. I am going to go ahead and sprinkle my onions. They're going to pretty much get pulverized as this cooks, but that'll add additional flavor. And also my garlic, I'm just going to spread that out. So this is sort of the reason why you want it stacked single layer, because this would just sort of sit on top of everything, but it's going to be more on the sauce, although I've got holes I'm going to poke it down into in here so it all cooks and sort of gets, everything is flavored the way I want it. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and plug this in and turn it on. I'm going to cook it on low for about probably close to 8-9 hours, somewhere around there. And the meat should then be quite tender. Where it's bone on, it should start pulling away from the bone, and it's just going to be amazingly delicious. All right, my short ribs are done. I still have some in the crock pot, and that's okay. I just have a sample out here so I can show you what they look like. The one caution about this, it's not really caution, but these are very, very fatty, but they are very delicious because of that. And as a result, they're extremely filling. So for a side dish, this really is a meal by itself. I'm just using a very small spinach salad with some tomatoes and a little bit of olive oil on top. That's it. So that's my little caution about the ribs. They are very tender and very tasty and very, very scrumptious. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull that away. That's what they look like. I'm going to go ahead and sample. Okay, I have to finish the video, but I really just want to start digging in, so because it is my dinner. But they taste great. They're awesome. And really easy to cook in a slow cooker, so you can just let them go for about 9 hours and they're going to start falling off the bone, which is great. So if you like what you see, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and until next time, I'll see ya.